Check them out. That tiny little carrots. Now, I'm not going to, that's coriander, which looks as if it's pretty ill. I'm not going to be able to feed off the zombie apocalypse with this stuff. But you know what? I've quite enjoyed the whole mysticism that is watching seeds grow. I think that's some kind of peas. That's a tomato. There's another little tomato plant in there. More carrot type things. More tomato plants. Don't know what these big things are. Cabbages or cauliflowers. The parsley's taking a bit of a doing. But hey, you know what? Who cares? More carroty things in there. Fresh basil. God knows where they are, tomatoes or something. That's a big basil plant, another tomato plant. Check that out. Small tangerine. Right, fantastic stuff. And that's just garlic. I took garlic bulbs from the house. They need planted out. Stuck them in there, one of them sadly passed away, the demise. And that was doing okay as well, check that out. The demise of my garlic plant. I don't know what's going to happen to that, but you know what? It roots coming out. Let's stick it in the ground, see what happens. So I'm not a very godly man, but when you see all this stuff coming together, you just think to yourself, perhaps there is a God, you know what I mean? A plant God, a cabbage God, a God of tomatoes. Now, the punchline with my plants, my YouTube videos are getting worse, aren't they? They really are getting worse. When I planted this stuff up, what was that, a couple of months ago, it was a World War 3 day update, come check my plants out. I said that I don't know if I would ever eat the fruit from my fruit trees. I should have edited this a couple of days ago. Look at the blossom in that, eh? Is that not just fantastic? I think that's an apple or a pear tree. This thing, when it was in full bloom, it was absolutely stunning. I'm going to get harvested apples off of that this year. Which can mean but one thing. Cider. Fantastic. This, I think, was plums. And again, you can just see in there is something going to grow. I think this is more apples. I'm not going to get a lot out of it, but considering I only planted them 2 years ago, I'm made up. This again, I think, was tomatoes. And I'm sure there were flowers on it. It might be barren this year, but I'm going to eat the fruit off my own fruit trees. They were only planted out 2 years ago, and I'm going to get a return off them this year. Isn't that just amazing? So, my garden, in fact I bought another 2. When you plant up fruit trees for the first year, they don't seem to do very much. I think they've taken a bit of a kicking. But I think these have been in for 2 years and already fruit's coming on. And I stuck another one over here. You know what, when I'm dead and gone, this will be an orchard out here and other people will be enjoying my fruit. Will this be enough to survive the coming economic apocalypse that we are about to face? Now Europe has sanctioned its biggest oil producer and food producer. No, of course it wouldn't be. Is growing stuff fun? It's absolutely great fun. Yeah, recommend it to anybody, you know. This year I'm going to be eating tomatoes and peas and apples and other amazing things. So was sanctioning Russia a good idea? No, it was a terrible idea, wasn't it? The EU is going to be the best we can hope for a holiday resort for Chinese tourists in about 5 years' time. Mercedes-Benz and BMW, they're never going to be able to build cars again competitively, are they? Now that their governments have decided to cripple their economy. So this has went from plants to God to World War 3. I can understand why I've got nearly 200 followers. Do you know what I'm saying here? These videos, I mean, 5 minutes, 21 seconds in, and they're already packing a lot of punch. Yeah, the EU are not going to be able to... Germany's not going to be able to manufacture cars anymore, are they? I mean, that's over. The EU as a project, I would say, has officially failed. Why are you saying that, Zambo? Well, from minute one of day one, we should have negotiated with Russia. But we laughed at them because in Europe there's some kind of Russophobia goes down. And it always has. We always talk down their country, their economy, their military potential. We're not doing that anymore, are we? Is Russia's economy really smaller than Italy? You've got to be kidding yourself. Russian economy is probably about 2 or 3 times that of Germany. They certainly export piles of steel, coal, metal, wood, oil, gas, all the cool stuff that Europe used to get at competitive prices. One of my friends bought a sheet of 3/4 inch, what's that, 19mm Baltic plywood the other day. Now, in a previous life, a long time ago, I had a hobby. I used to build big loudspeaker enclosures. I absolutely loved it. It's like planting trees, great fun. I used to make great big loudspeaker cabinets. And a sheet of Baltic ply was 70 or 80 quid. Going to a massive distributor of it. If we bought 10 sheets, we could get it down to 60 pounds per sheet, right? One of my friends bought a sheet the other day. Cost him 230 quid. There's your World War 3 right there. So what we had, God, plants, World War 3. Let's call a ceasefire, let's negotiate, let's stop ripping Europe to bits. I'm pro-Scottish independence, or I was, until the current idiots in the SNP took over. They're more interested in proliferating war and transgender rights than they are about getting our country independent. And if you think about it just now, Scotland is a food exporting country. Scotland is an oil exporting country. Scotland is a gas exporting country. Scotland is an electricity exporting country. We should be thriving, shouldn't we? We should be rubbing our hands together with glee. But instead, we can't find the money to fill our petrol tanks up. Grandmothers can't heat their houses. The UK, the EU, the UK, and maybe to an extent America, but it's over for them, isn't it? And I don't think, they must realise, they pay an awful lot of people an awful lot of money to make big decisions for them and tell them stuff. They must know. They must know. I mean, if I knew from minute one of day one that if the Russians decided to attack any country in the world, the Russians were going to win, why didn't the defence minister from the UK realise that? Why does a guy that likes planting trees and making music and working in old vans, why am I more aware of Russia's military potential than the UK Defence Secretary? Let's look at some of the plums in the UK, in Europe. Ursula von der Leyen. Throw her in the bin. She's a head case. Olaf Scholz, Germany. There's a bin. The UK, Boris Johnson, bin. Scotland, Nicola Sturgeon, bin, 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 bin. I said it in another video before, Nicola Sturgeon should walk into Westminster and say to them, you've got 30 days to remove the nuclear weapons from our country because we're facing the greatest existential threat in our history. I'm making a YouTube video, darling. Say hello to YouTube. Hi. We're facing the biggest existential threat in our country's history. I watched Putin and Lavrov saying that if we didn't move the American nukes out of Europe, they would do it. I don't think Nicola Sturgeon watched that. Boris Johnson didn't watch that. What's his mad defence guy? little baldy headed guy, he's an idiot. Ben somebody. Another one for the bin. We really are led by the lowest and least amongst us. Least able and competent to make decisions. Because they went to posh English public schools, we think these people are clever. I can assure you they are not. They are idiots. Absolute clowns. So anyway, let's not dwell on that stuff too much. Plant stuff is great fun. I'm going to be eating apples off my apple tree. You know what? If my daughter ever has kids, she'll be selling apples in the street. Will this help me overcome the food shortages that are about to hit the EU in the next 6 months? No, of course they're not. I'm as snookered as anybody else, but from a mental health point of view, plant stuff, it's good. Europe, hold referenda. Have you noticed that? Politicians are terrified of referendums. I don't think that's a word. Politicians are terrified of referenda. If a country goes to war, would you really trust the politicians? Especially if it's Ursula van der Leyen, Ursula van den Headcase, Olaf Scholz, Germany talking about rearming. Oh, Germany sending hundreds of millions of dollars to fight the Russians with the most advanced military machine the world had ever thought it had seen in the 1930s and 40s. And possibly the most advanced economy on the planet. Was Adolf Hitler. How did that work out? Tell me in the comment section, how did that work out? You know, again, that was Hitler's anti-Russian sort of a European racism at work. It still exists today, you know. We honestly think we can overpower that country. And it kind of looks as well, doesn't it, that every 200 years or so. Napoleon, he thought, I'm just going to go in and cause havoc and all the rest of it. The Russians ended up in Paris. And that was the 1820s, but 100 years later. World War II in 1930s, 1940s. Hitler thought, I'll just breach into this rotten, decrepit state and steal all the... It was oil Hitler was after. If you know anything about World War II, he went to the Caucasus oil fields. That was the first place they tried to get to. Because Germany's not got a lot of natural resources apart from coal. Olaf Scholz, throw him in the bin. They shut down all the coal power. It's risible, isn't it? So funny. They shut down all the coal-fired power stations for a little Greta Thunderbird. Wee Greta Thunberg, you don't hear much about her anymore. Guess what? It turns out we're heavily addicted to oil. We love this stuff. The entire European, the entire world's economy moves on to. All the oil and gas we used to come into Europe, that's all going to India and China now, isn't it? You couldn't make... If this was a plot from a book, you would think to yourself, it's not a very believable book, wouldn't you? Just think, nah. The author's taking LSD, they're not very, very clever. So, Sturgeon, Boris Johnson, Ursula van der Leyen, Little Plum from Olaf Scholz, Angela Merkel and Donald Trump, right, another pair of people I think are absolute idiots, should be sent over to Russia just now to have a little talk with Vlad, who's apparently dying on his feet and all the rest of it. I watched the Russian May Day military parade. That guy does not look ill. And judging by the speeches he was given, where he spoke directly at the American government, not the people. He praised the American people for the sacrifices he made in 1945. There's nothing wrong with Vladimir Putin. There's nothing wrong with that guy. He's got all his faculties about him. Then you look at Joe Biden, he's trying to shake the hands of imaginary people and all the rest of it. And the British press, European press are saying, Putin's got cancer, he's got Parkinson's disease and all the rest of it. Nah, yet, nine. Nah, that's not what's going to happen. So, plant trees. Maybe God does exist because all this stuff quite remarkable. Send Trump and Merkel over to talk to Putin. It could stop tomorrow, couldn't it? All they have to do is sit down with Zelensky and Putin and just go, let's stop bombing these things. If somebody doesn't do that very soon, there's going to be nothing left of the Ukraine apart from this big bowl of burning ash. Do not believe what the Western media tell you. That's my other top tips today. So there we go. You get falafel updates, me building vans, fruit trees. I mean, you can understand why I've got nearly 200 subscribers on my YouTube channel, can't you? Joe Rogan, watch out. So, Europe, if your leaders want to take you to a war, call a referendum, let the people decide that. Any European that thinks they can fight a war against Russia, read a couple of history books, you're in for the biggest shock of your life. How do we end it? Pull Trump out of retirement. I think Putin was quite friendly with Angela Merkel. He's going to say the same stuff to them that he said since December of last year. Get NATO out of Europe, get the American nuclear weapons away from the border, and there's no way Ukraine is joining NATO. There is no way Ukraine is joining NATO. Whether Putin does it by force or whether they negotiate it, these things are still what's going to happen. The only difference between negotiating with them, the only difference between negotiating with them and not negotiating with them is the amount of people that are going to die, and there's going to be a lot of people. There's already been an awful lot of people die. So let's stop that, because feminism, I'm all for feminism, right, but I'm a man. The people that are dying predominantly in this war are fighting age men, and I want this to stop. I'm a vegetarian pacifist. So, pull Trump and Merkel out of retirement, get them to go and do a deal with Putin, and stop this insanity. Planting trees is a great idea, fruit trees, planting your own food. Europe is headed for the worst catastrophe we've seen since World War II. If you haven't worked that out yet, I've got a bridge to sell you. If you think the Ukrainians are beating the Russians militarily, I've got 2 bridges to sell you. They're getting hammered. So there's some cheery stuff in there and some not so cheery stuff in there. But I'm going to knock it in the head, 16 minutes, it's terrible upload, terrible video. If you've been watching any of my videos, you'll be used to that by now. Okay, so I'm an atheist, but I'm going to say God bless a lot of you. Let's keep our fingers crossed that things work out as well as they possibly can work out. They're already pretty crap. Alright, take care, bye bye.